Okay, so today, this video I've put together is going to be on making the neck piece for the cowl, and the purpose is that you can turn your head left to right without it being attached like a lot of latex masks. And this is a companion video to another video series I did. It was parts 1 and 2. It's up on my page, and that was all based just around this mask here. But today we're going to solely focus on the neck piece. This video will be in several parts, unfortunately. I'm going to put it all together on the playlist, though, with the mask build. Okay, so it's been a while, but as promised, here is the how-to video on the neck piece for the Batman cowl build that I did. I had some family issues come up, so I had to go for a few weeks, and now I'm back. So let's start off here with the first thing I have is some 5mm thick EVA foam. It no longer says 5mm. Now it says this, 12 by 18 by 0.2 inches, but it is still 5mm foam. And you're going to need a heat gun. I happen to have a hairdryer here that's salon quality hairdryer, and it will literally melt the comb or the brush. And it's hot enough that I'm going to use it as a substitute for a heat gun since mine is not operable. And also some other things you're going to need are some glues like contact cement. I got Gorilla Super Glue. I have a hot glue gun, a cutting board with some scissors, razor blades, help draw out your pattern, a ruler if you need it, and then Mod Podge, and either some black acrylic craft paint or some spray paint. And probably going to need some primer. And the one thing I don't have here to show you is Plastidip. I have to go get that for the end of the build, but you will need a can of Plastidip if you're not familiar with it. It comes in a can just like spray paint, and it comes in different colors, and it's a little bit more than spray paint, but it's well worth the money, and that's what you're going to use to finish it at the very end is the Plastidip. One other thing I failed to mention was Velcro. You're going to need some Velcro. I got this at Hobby Lobby. A lot of this stuff can be found there, from the EVA foam to all your cutting tools and everything else. Okay, so the first thing I did was figure out the length from where my chest ends and my neck begins, basically right above where your collarbones are, up into your chin. And you want to measure that distance of your neck from your chin down to your chest. And then you're going to want to make it a little bit bigger. And I put this a little offset, made a mark here, and that's where my ruler starts. And it was about 3.5 inches, but I drew the line at 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from here, angling up, and from the line and the mark I did here, angling down. Okay, so I went ahead and drew my lines from the center, which represents your throat area, to the outside edges. And I cut them both. Don't worry if it's too big. I usually don't measure the back. I make it a little extra big. And what I'm going to do next, so it's symmetrical, is I'm going to fold it over so it lines up. I'm going to trace on both sides and then cut the rest of the way so that it's totally symmetrical. It's an easy, quick shortcut for any sort of pattern, or if you're just going from scratch like me without a pattern. It's the easiest way to get both sides symmetrical. Okay, so I have cut out the piece, and if you can fold it in half, you see that both sides match up. So you have one symmetrical piece, and this is what is going to go around your neck. This is going to be the front, as I've stated, where your throat is, and this is going to be at the back of your neck where your spine is. And you're going to enclose it with Velcro. But first, I'm going to do a little trimming to account for my jaw. And all this, there's not really anything that I can show you. I don't think that's going to help specifically per individual, whether you're doing this for yourself or you're making this for somebody else. It's just a slow process of trial and error. The only suggestion I can make is cut very little at a time. Okay, if you have somebody that can help you, when you put this around your neck, you can have them draw like where your jaw is and where to stop and start your cuts, but just start shaving some off until it starts to feel comfortable, but not too much. Because when you heat EVA foam, it tends to shrink up. Okay, so I went through and marked for my jaw and cut it. And I put a little bit more shape here on the bottom, and also to account for my collarbones and the way my chest is on my particular body. This here is the bottom, of course. This is the top. Next, I'm going to heat the entirety of it. You really need a heat gun to do this. A hairdryer won't do it. And once I heat it up, I'm going to press it against and around my neck so it conforms to the shape of my body. Now, when you do this, you need to be very, very careful. If the foam is hot, it will burn you. It's best to just go a small section at a time and gradually conform it to your body. And then after that, you can make any trimming or adjustments, etc., etc. I've gone ahead and heated this, and here's what it looks like. It's going to come down to a point here in the back. And this back piece here is going to be secured with Velcro. I am going to have to trim this, because you can see it doesn't line up quite straight. Has this overlap. I'm going to trim these so they meet flush straight. I'm going to cut them at an angle. This side I'll be cutting at this angle, and this side I'll be cutting at this angle so that they match up. And once I do that, I'm going to put some Velcro on it and see how it all matches up. So I took some 3mm foam, and I cut a piece that will fit along the inside of this. I'm going to glue this there. Then I have a wider piece that is going to glue to the back of that. And once those are glued, the soft, fluffy part of the Velcro is going to be attached to here on this side. And on this side, the Velcro is going to be the sticky stuff, and it's going to be right here, directly to it. And the reason why I'm staggering it and overlapping it like this is so that when it's put on here and it closes up, hopefully it'll be flush and there won't be much of a bump. Okay, so I glued my two pieces together, staggered, and this I'm going to glue inside here so that it's flush. And before I do that though, I'm going to attach the soft, fuzzy part of the Velcro to this lip here. I'm going to attach the sticky stuff directly into the other side, right here on the foam itself. Okay, so I just attached my Velcro, and I used some super glue and some hot glue. Anything you can use to make sure this stays on here is going to be super helpful, because a lot of times with just hot glue or just super glue, the Velcro tends to want to tear off. And you see there's a little bit of overlap here. I did that for a reason. I'm going to use my hot glue gun. I'm going to put a little bead along here to help seal this Velcro to the EVA foam. If you wear this costume, if you wear this costume piece a lot, when you take it on and off, the Velcro is going to want to come right off. And that will help it to stay attached. You're going to want to let that cool. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this to the inside of the neck piece. Alright, so I glued this all together. And you can see here the staggered piece. Put some beads of hot glue over it to help hold this in place. And here you can see it is staggered. To focus in there. And like I said, I did that with the extra piece of 3mm foam in between the 5 and the other 3, was so that when you Velcro it, it lines up as straight and as smoothly as possible. Now, I've already gone ahead and trimmed a little bit of excess off, and I am going to do more detail work to this, but before I do all that, I want to make sure that whenever I'm wearing it, and I have the cowl on, I can actually turn my head from side to side, move it, and I just go by a small, slow trial and error process of trying it on, taking it off, trimming a little bit, and then trying it back on. Okay, so I went through, and this is pretty much the final shape. It's not too tight, but it fits pretty well. And I had to cut some here for my shoulders, so it goes down my back better. And I had to trim a little bit off the bottom on this edge as well. And then I actually trimmed a considerable portion of it off the top. And you can see some of the fingernail marks there. Basically what I would do is I put this on my neck, and then once it's on the neck, I put my cowl on it. And wherever it's tight or pushing up, as I try to seat it on my neck, I just take my fingernail and kind of just draw marks until it fits. And to do the final detail, I'm going to use a piece of 2mm foam. And the 2mm foam, I'm going to put like an Adam's apple in it and some tendon and muscle. And I'm going to glue that over top of this. It's also going to help the neck to stand out a little bit more and be a little bit more beefy. Now, next what I did was I took the cowl, the neck piece, and I laid it out on a piece of EVA foam, and I traced the top of it exactly, and the bottom I drew a little bit bigger. The reason for this is I want to have more of a V come down, and this inner piece is meant simply to fit somewhat snug against my neck. But whenever I wear this cowl with the neck piece, the helmet's pretty bulky, and it makes me look like I have a pencil neck. And already here on the outside, I've started to heat and shape the foam. I'm going to add in an Adam's apple and various tendons and muscles and stuff into this. And when it's finished, I'm going to glue it to the outside of this. And then I'm going to trim off the excess here. Okay, so I've begun working some of the detail in. This here is going to be the Adam's apple. And here's the start of some tendons. And I heated the inside and used the end of a screwdriver handle to push it into shape. And then I heated the insides here. And once again, I used a screwdriver, but this time I used the blade to push those in. And now that I've got the shape in it that I want, I've begun gluing it to the inner piece. And once I get that fully attached, I'm going to follow this V up and match the excess and cut it all off with a pair of scissors or an X-Acto blade.